Well, thank you so much for being with Morning Live. The issue of the number of religious holidays is once again coming under scrutiny in South Africa. Now, the Congress of Traditional Leaders of South Africa, Contralesa, is calling for May the 8th to be declared a National Ancestors Day. Now, Contralesa Secretary General Zolani Mkiva says that the day will be for acknowledging and celebrating African spirituality and its role through ceremonies and rituals. Zolani Mkiva joins us now in studio to discuss this matter further. Mr. Mkiva, good to have you with us here on Morning Live. Welcome.
Thank you very much. Good morning to you and good morning to the viewers of SABC.
So, of course, the question about the number of public holidays in South Africa is by no means new. Some are of the opinion that we have too many public holidays in South Africa, and why should we look at adding any more? What would your response be to that in this call where you are saying that there needs to be a day set aside that would commemorate, as you say, National Ancestors Day in South Africa?
Well, I think it's a genuine thing for people to ask that question, that why do we look at another day when we have so many holidays, particularly religious holiday? And these religious holidays are part of what we inherited when we crossed over to the new dispensation. But we were making a point that perhaps there is a need to have a review of restructuring the annual calendar of South Africa. And the issue of proposing the Ancestors Day to be mainstreamed and be part of that calendar is something that is long overdue, in the sense that African spirituality is not necessarily part of what we know now to be our national calendar. And we're making a compelling case to say that we have to foreground and mainstream African spirituality to be at the centerpiece of that African calendar, so that it represents the African voice that needs to be liberated completely, but also to mainstream some of the key nuances which revolve around African spirituality, which is African wisdoms, the indigenous knowledge systems, but also to instill a sense of pride in our people, in the sense that for a long period of time, our people were miseducated by coloniality and apartheid to refer to their ancestors as demons. I think it's time to create a platform for a reconnect so that we can appreciate that as the current generation, we represent the dreams, the hopes, the fears, and everything that comes from our ancestors. And also to make a point that we have a biological relationship with our ancestors. In us flows their blood, and we also have a spiritual connection with them. So we are related to our ancestors in a very, very big way, but also to create the current generation to know that they have a duty and a moral responsibility to behave in a particular manner that represents Africanity, because this generation in itself forms what we call the future ancestors.
So I'm sure you then would be alive to the broader conversation and debate that will result from this. And again, it's by no means a new one, where other religions, minority religions, have also said that why are we not recognized when it comes to the South African calendar? If Christmas is a public holiday, if Good Friday is a public holiday, why isn't Diwali? Why isn't, as you say, May the 8th for National Ancestors Day? Why isn't Eid, for example? And so goes the list. You know, the Jewish community, I'm sure, will also have their input on this. So that discussion would be one that flows naturally from your suggestion. Have you thought about that and how that should be accommodated?
Well, we have considered that in a very big way, actually. Remember that the African ancestors are older than any other thing that we can speak about. And we are referring, therefore, to a day that is going to represent the custodians, the owners, and the natives of Africa. Diwali and the other holidays that you refer to, they have got their origins to certain countries. And then in those countries, exactly, they find the expression about what you're talking about. But they are also given space, not necessarily a statutory public holiday. They are celebrated even in our space in South Africa. But there's no need to make them a holiday, because Diwali is an original Indian, Asian key religious holiday.
But there are people in this country, born and raised in this country, who practice and celebrate.
Well, in the same context, the Africa Ancestors Day will be celebrated in Africa, but it will also be celebrated outside of Africa. But we can't then make a call to say it must be a public holiday in America simply because we've got an African community in America. We're saying that it must be a public holiday here in our space, in our country, and in our continent. That's the difference.
But South Africa is a secular
celebrated
state, and the constitution of this country actually enshrines equality for all on the basis of race, religion, sexuality, whatever you may think. This constitution says we are all equal in South Africa.
We are all equal as the citizens of the Republic of South Africa. But that does not take away the fact that we are the natives African, and we have got a duty as the custodians of the land and the country and the culture to ensure that we mainstream that which represents us and those who came before us, even before the other minorities came into the picture. And in fact, the minorities, if I may say, you would find that they find more expression in terms of their security to many things, including the Bill of Rights, including the freedom to express themselves religiously. But I think we must make a point that we should respect the fact that we are Africans in South Africa, and therefore we have to mainstream that which it really represents us as the natives of the country without excluding anybody. We are not. We are always a society and a community that embraces everyone. And that's why, actually, we fell victims of colonization. It is because of our kindness. It is because of our humaneness. But we think that time has come to really ensure that as we manage the national question in South Africa, we must combine science and spirituality. And this is by no means a rejection of religion, but spirituality is the most fundamental thing that defines us as a people. And that's why we say the Ancestors Day is that instrument that will take us back to our consciousness. Not to be going all over the place and mimicking everybody else, is to say let's go back to our ways and find a best formula for us to find a way forward. And that's why we think that many things in the country are not going so well simply because that we've disconnected with our ancestors. It's time to reconnect as South Africa and as the rest of the continent to ensure that we find progression that is greatly needed to make Africa a superpower that it deserves to be. It used to be.
Wow. Interesting. And we have to leave it there, unfortunately, but that's our question of the day. Let us know your thoughts on it. That was Contralesa Secretary General Zolani Mkiva speaking to us about their call for May the 8th to be declared a National Ancestors Day. What are your thoughts on that at Morning Live SABC? Let's take a quick break before news.